Welcome to EasyClear, your one-stop software solution. Our goal is to uniform the supply chain along all modalities into one platform. This is inclusive of Transnet, customs services, and IATA, along with cross-border and transit into upper African countries. We offer system as a service that allow easy-to-use transitions between the forwarding, RCG, clearance, invoicing with disbursements, reporting, and bulk interactions. Follow me into the agent industry with your host, Devin Few.
Alrighty, welcome everybody to Easy Clear Day 10 of cargo dues. Now, cargo dues can be done on two fronts, either through the OTC website, the order to cash. So if you wanted to, you could go directly to order to cash, and that's all you would have to type into your Google in order to locate the OTC Transnet website, order to cash. Once you're on the website, you would put in your username and password. And the reason for us showing you this is when you logged onto Order to Cash and you know you are the gatekeeper for Transnet, then once you logged in, you can go into My Account, go into the EDI settings, and just tick off that EasyClear or your service provider. So that's cargo dues or Transnet will therefore give you an FTP account on email that you can send to EasyClear, which we can set up within the EasyClear application in order for you to submit cargo due messages to OTC directly. Alrighty, let's get started and we'll log us straight onto EasyClear. For those of you who are seeing this page for the very first time, for easyclearx.co.za is our website. We will provide you with a company username and password. That password will never be shared out, but we'll get your browser to remember the password so you don't have to keep asking us to retype this in for you. And then you log in. Once logged in, you'll see that you got your company dropdown. We'll set up your departments in respect to your company's requirements, as well as your users. After that, each user will have their own unique password based on the POPI Act. And then you are joined through to the landing screen. On the landing screen, you'll just see how many entries you've done for the date period on top. But bypassing all that, please review other earlier webinars shared on YouTube. So we'll just go straight into cargo dues. But before we run through the cargo dues system, for a cargo dues file to be successful, you will have to have a linked clearance file. If the clearance file does not exist, the cargo dues message unfortunately will not be able to pick up the information such as the vessel details in accordance to your clearing file. And so once you've got a clearance file, say more or less for sea freight, containerized cargo coming into Durban Container Terminal Pier 2, the file before or after it is released, as long as the registration screen exists, you can process the cargo dues. So we'll just load up a random file in the interim and add a clearance file for imports for Transport Mode 1. So we'll load ours as a straight up import, Transport Mode 1 for sea freight, duty type being DP. If there is an onward transport mode, please do insert it. The agent file number will be automatic per most cases. Otherwise, you can use barcode scanning as your auto file number for a waybill, or alternatively type in your file number. So I'll just call this 123, or rather test cargo dues. And within EasyClear, please try and keep to capital letters. Right, so we'll just run through a quick selection for a test importer, a test supplier, okay. And furthermore, from there, I can see other information is mandatory. So we'll go straight to the ship name. I'm using MSC Loaner. And I just typed in MSCIL. And then the voyage number would come from your master bill of lading document, or preferably, if you don't have that, please find the vessel agent to confirm. Right, the ship carrier code MSC, vessel radio call sign has pulled through, and 2022-10 we'll say the arrival date is 16 as per the documentation. After that, the master carrier code pulled through in accordance to the ship name as a default from the SARS website. The master bill of lading number That'll be unique to your master bill lading documentation. House bill lading number. Now, if the house bill is inserted, your house carrier code would be mandatory, 0012, and then house carrier code. I'm just going to utilize DHL's house carrier code, even though they're more for road freight. So you obviously utilize yourself as the house carrier or the designated responsible party of the cargo within the container or the break bulk scenario. Vessel agent, if I was using Evergreen, I'd put in the vessel agent, but MSC are their own vessel agent, so we leave that blank purely for Maersk shipping lines. But if it was any other shipping line, like Ocean Networks, for instance, we'd be able to use them as the vessel agent. Well, if there's a sub-master, somebody's piggybacking off of your house, please make certain to insert it. I'll specify place of issue as Shanghai. That'll automatically put in the ISO code and country code. Never type that in manually, please. If that's not auto-populating, please reach out to EasyClear ASAP. Right, shipped on board date. This is your SOB date that determines your rates of exchange. So I'm going to say 2022, and let's say it was shipped on the 9th. Once I tab through there, you can see the screen shifts up. Update rates of exchange for the supplier's invoice. Port of discharge is going to be Durban. Now, if you know that you're going to be using the City Deep containerized depot in Johannesburg, my port of discharge here would have been Johannesburg. Country of destination, I can type in South Africa, but a short code would just be ZA. Customs entry place in this case, I'm using Durban. And the final entry place within South Africa is not leaving the country will be Durban again. Description, this is a container of goods or mixed goods. And then the payment code, deferment, cash, or free, or VAT deferred. In this case, I'm just using payment code C. What is the package type within the containers? Number of pieces, I'm going to say there's 15 packages within the container. What's the gross weight? 150 kilograms. It'll always be in kilograms as well as the net mass. Volumetric weight is quite important for sea freight type entries. You cannot leave that blank, as when you do calculations for invoicing, obviously you would charge by the highest of either the gross mass or the volume. In this case, I'm going to say the volumetric is 90, and then the depot code here I'm going to be using 07. And once I selected 07, I can just run a double check and a search on the depot code. And I can see that I'm using SACD Durban. But if I don't know the depot code in question, and this is very important, I need to phone the vessel agent and locate which containerized depot am I utilizing. So if you want to, you can just press Control F on your keyboard. Once the search library has come up, type in the word Durban, and I can see that there's 101 results on screen. On that, we'll just show you all results based on the Durban selection. Pressing the magnifying glass to pull up the full list of depot codes that are available for Durban. Right, so I'm just looking for a very specific one. I see there I can use City Deep Container Terminal that does reside in Durban. So I'm going to be using 17. Once that is selected, you can see that this container depot does pull through the name as well. And for additional information, just specify there, if you do have hazardous goods, then please make certain you do insert the dangerous goods. So if it is hazardous, please mark it off as dangerous. And also, last but not least, what is the Incoterms? This is also highly important for sea freight type entries. So now that I've at least got the registration screen done, I can now commence with my cargo dues. You can complete the clearance file in question there before you run over to the cargo dues segment. So it's always good to at least have a clearance file, as you have to have one before you jump over to the NPA side. On cargo dues, you'll go to the landing page or the home page within EasyClear, click on the NPA margin, and then you can go straight into cargo dues. As long as you've signed up for order to cash the FTP details, if you're not certain how, we can guide you through that, and you can only be signed up with one service provider at any given time. On that, you can have multiple accounts for your cargo dues that we can set up in the application, readily and available for you to select from a drop-down list. So you'll raise your cargo dues file, select it, create the EDI message, send it through to Transnet, and get an EDI response of a release. Once that is done, then you should be able to receive an email or log on to your cargo dues OTC system to download the invoice. Thereafter, we do have the secondary option to generate any of the below documentation only. So if you're doing EDI, but when it comes to the landing order, the shipping order, transshipping order, and all your CTOs, those are registering the documentation only, so that is readily available when you want to take it through to go do your collection or go do your landing orders, uh, respective of if it's a transshipping order as well. We are aware that Transnet is busy with the development for the integration between our system and theirs for the electronic landing orders and shipping orders, but as it stands at this moment, they only have the cargo dues available, so we are limited to that on our side, but we can make the necessary enhancements when needs be. So we'll jump straight into the cargo dues, and I'm going to go through each of these lists, generating a document as needs be, so you can take it through like that. So we'll hit up the cargo dues first. On the cargo dues, as I said, there's no add button here, so you can't add a free format cargo dues. A clearance file has to exist. That's why we provide you with the search, and we automatically lock down the advanced search to be at NPA type documents, as well as the company name you logged in. All right, so if I press search straight off the bat, I should see the latest files generated first by date order. And date order was unfortunately created in the computer here, so they registered a incorrect file from there. But I can see my latest files on top. So if this is the case in your system and the file's not released by customs, we can help and amend that information if needs be, if your computer date and time was in a misleading order. Otherwise, you'll see your date range is the second item on top based on that misconstruing information. So I'll run the selection, and then from EasyClear, it's always best to work from the top down. So my very first selection here, what type of cargo dues order am I creating? I'm going to specify container. Now, if I were to utilize the containers option, I would needed to have inserted containers on my registration screen of the clearance file for those containers to pull through into the cargo dues. So if you're using breakbulk, obviously you wouldn't have had containers there. Plus, inclusive of all that, we do have an option to amend or basically do a VOC on a cargo dues message via the amending order. So I'm just going to jump back over to the shortcut button and go back to my clearance file by clicking on import and search. From there, I could have typed in my file number and brought up the possibly percentage cargo due, or just type in the word cargo. As I know that's part of my file number, press search, and I can see there's only two results, the top one being the file I'm looking for. From there, I know I didn't add containers into my registration file. So in order for a successful containerized cargo dues message to print and go through to Transnet, please make certain you do capture the containers as well. So you'll do that by clicking the containers button on the left. You can CSV import the containers into the EasyClear application. We would just need to help you with the preliminaries for this, as there's a little bit of a setup. It is not complicated at all, and we can adjust the setup based on your Excel document and format. That information is just required to pull through what would you have manually put on the screen, and that's what we would expect to be on the CSV import. Any information that's additional on the Excel document that is not used for EasyClear can still be on the Excel document, and we'll just ignore the column. So say, for instance, column D was a tariff code. We wouldn't need that for the container import, so we would just ignore that field. Alternatively, if you are adding containers manually because you have one or two to add, you can press the Add button. We also have the Save button. Once you've selected your saved container below, you can also delete it. And the orange button is to exit. So you'll press the Add button first. For your very first container, you don't have to. I just have it in good practice that I always press Add before I start adding information. Based on that, what type of container are you doing? Is it a normal break bulk scenario? So you can register common break bulk situations with your base 20 foot or 40 foot. You also get your 20 high cube and your 40 high cube as well. All right, for this exercise, I'm going to be using a 20-foot container. The container number, EasyClear does have the check digits validation in place, and also the fact that a container number must be a specific number of characters, and it has to start with alphabetical letters. So for most shipping lines, I'm going to expect an MAEU, EU, for my most containerized cargo as received on my documentation. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. And we also do a validation on the check digits. So altogether, my container number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 characters long. If I had to make that 12 characters long and press the save button, I will get a warning there, but EasyClear does allow you to ignore that. However, if you had to send that through to customs or Transnet, they would then validate it and confirm it's an invalid containerized number. So I'll leave it as 11 characters, 12 characters for my save option there, and move straight over to the serial number. The serial number in this case, if it is a serial number that's on the container but not mentioned in the EDI message, and customs do have a stop on the container, if the seal number is not mentioned, customs have a turnaround scenario where they'll cut the seal, open the container, and then you would probably have to purchase a new seal just to seal the container again. So please make certain your seal number is available on the container capture screen. If there is no seal number, there's no need for you to type in the word no seal number, as EasyClear is fully compliant and will automatically put in the words no seal NO in the EDI message as well as your printout. All right, for this one, I'm just going to make it seal 01. Obviously, you'll have a valid seal number there. And is that mechanical or electronic seal? So you can have the option of selecting either or based on the physical situation. The gross weight for this. Now, say for instance, you misplaced your documentation, but you know you put the gross weight on the file, you can have the container screen open and just move your mouse slightly to your left, and you can still scroll up and down on the screen behind you. I like to use this little trick just to scroll down to my mass, just in case I've forgotten what my mass is. I've misplaced my documentation, but I can make certain that I'm inserting my mass based on my gross mass for this shipment. The container depot, if I also forgot what I used there, I can also go back to my depot and review there. So this will be the unpacked depot, the deconsolidation terminal, but more than commonly, most people just use it as the collection depot. So you're more than welcome just to leave it like that. Next, most importantly, is the cargo status. Under the cargo status, if you are using FCL or LCL type shipment, please specify that accordingly. A quick selection if you're just tabbing through the fields and you don't want to use your mouse to run through the selection. When I press tab through the field, I see I press tab and it goes through to the magnifying glass. So I'll press tab again. So on this field, I'll just press 8 to go straight to FCL. 8 takes you straight to FCL. You can also press 7 if you mistakenly did that, and it will choose the option per the drop-down list for your LCL or FCL type shipment, or you can press tab thereafter. If it's a trans-shipping order and you know you're raising a trans-shipping order, you might want to stipulate your initial depot code to the trans-shipping depot code on the screen. You also have opportunity to insert your UN number, the Digi class, and the packing group. A lot of people have packing groups as a lot of eyes or whatever the terminology might be. But if you look above your enter button or just to the side of your enter button on the keyboard, you've got a backslash symbol. And just above that, if you use the shift above the backslash, that's known as the pipe. I do know a lot of companies will stipulate I've got my packing in groups of threes, so they'll just represent it as a physical packing scenario. So they'll put 3 pipes, a space, another 3 pipes, a last space, and another 3 pipes, or 2 pipes, representing a physical translation of the packing within the container packed 3 by 3. Right. If it is refrigerated, please mark off the reefer and at what temperature, so be that minus 20 degrees Celsius. and if the goods are hazardous, and if it is refrigerated, more than likely it will have a gauge on it as well, sorry, gauge. On top of that, you also have the dimensions within the container. So you can say for each quantity or for each item, I can specify my total number of pieces was 15. What are the dimensions of the packages if you want the system to calculate the volume? I already know my volume, so I'm going to put in my weight and then my full volume of 90. My chargeable mass will be then 150. Furthermore to that, I'll just specify what is my package type in the container and leave it as that. So I'm going to untick the gauge hazardous, the temperature and the reefer as well. Leave my additional details like that. You have abilities to insert more information if needs be, but that should be sufficient information for customs as well as Transnet. So I'll scroll back to the top and I press save. How do you know your file will be successfully saved? Once you do save it, you'll see an icon on the far right hand side of your container number and the size, as well as the quantity. If it isn't saved, as I mentioned before, we do a validation on the container number. It must be 11 characters long. So I'm going to remove the last character. I could have ignored it, but I don't want to get a rejection, so I'm just going to remove the last character, press the save option again, and then I can see there, as per the long division, my check digit is invalid as well. So based on the long division calculation, need to use the proper container number. Because I don't have long division in front of me, I'm just going to use a random number and just ignore it accordingly. Once I've ignored it, then I can press the save option, and now I can see my container is now saved. As mentioned in the previous imports clearance training video, I gave you the option to also copy a container. So always select the container you're copying. You can make a duplicate copy of that container and just amend the container number and quantity and pieces if needs be. Having saved that thereafter, please note it again, if you don't ignore this message or put in the proper container or you have an error on the screen, the changes are now made have not been saved because there is an error on the screen. So if I do ignore that and press save, then I can therefore save the container. And you can come back and adjust this at any given time. So it's always good to make the adjustments. If you find that you've already EDI'd the file to customs and you can't make adjustments, by all means, do your cargo dues off of the VOC, where you can make the necessary adjustments. And if you know it's just a cargo dues change, but not necessarily a customs change, you can have a draft VOC of just amending minor information that doesn't affect customs, but might affect cargo dues, and we can most certainly help you with that. So as per the save button, if I wanted to delete the secondary container because it shouldn't be there, I can select it and press the red cross here to delete the container with the two-step verification confirming you want to delete the container. So just to make certain you don't press it accidentally and having to recapture that information again. Right, so I can see my container is now saved. I can now close the screen and go back to my cargo dues. So it's always good to prep the file, double check your cargo dues message, and then release the file by customs. But that depends on your circumstances of how your business flows, and also potentially how long the cargo dues or the vessel is going to take to reach South Africa as well. If you do find that your vessel is not available in the EasyClear system, excuse me, we link up to the cargo dues website directly for all registered vessels. If a vessel is not registered with customs, that means the vessel agents potentially haven't done the ID 100 registration with Transnet. Each vessel has a minimum of 4 days until they actually have to register with Transnet before docking in South African ports. If they miss that deadline, and I see that some vessels actually do, they pay a penalty. So if you do find that the vessel is not registered, you can capture the information in EasyClear manually per the master validating submitted. But I mean, if they're not registered on ID 100 Transnet, you'll probably get a rejection with customs as well because they haven't received the communication from Transnet as well. So if that is the case, you can phone us and we'll probably just guide you to say, please phone the vessel agent. We'll do a double preliminary check on our site to confirm on their website just in case. But after that, please phone the vessel agent and just inquire, have they done the ID 100 with Transnet as per the rejection you are receiving through customs. Same thing as when you creating the cargo dues message, you can just double check that the cargo dues, when you're creating the message, that the vessel is available on the drop-down list. If it's not, then more than likely the vessel agent is unfortunately at fault there and needs to be contacted ASAP. Right, so we'll just jump over back to the cargo dues now that we've captured our containers, and whatever changes you make on the clearance file automatically pulls to the cargo dues section, so you don't have to recapture that information. If, say, for instance, you do have, we'll make this containers on top, and this is either deep sea, transship, coastwise, or you can cancel the order. So you'll see your amending orders on the left if you have a successful message and you want to do a VOC basically on the cargo dues, or you want to cancel your cargo dues altogether. That can be done through the EasyClear system, and we can show you how to do that as well. Okay, then starting from the top down, I can see my NPA contract number. If you do have a NPA contract number, we can set that up in EasyClear under the company settings. So whenever that is available, it will automatically pull through here. I'm just going to say this is account 001. NPA commodity code, 90% of personnel do leave that blank, so they'll pass over to the next one. But I mean, your commodity code could be a short code, could be a trans-shipping code, or could be a basic description of the goods. Let's say most people do leave that blank. The mate's receipt number, so your master bill of lading number. The next important thing here is container operator ships agent. That has to be selected. So for the container operator ships agent, if I were to use the magnifying glass here, I can see all the lists of container operators. And this is linked to the SARS website for the container operator ships agent codes. So based on this one, I'm going to see if Maersk is available. I see 0 of 0 results. Otherwise, MSC, and I can see there's only 1 of 1 results here. So if I do know the container operatorship's code, or if I run through a selection, to the operatorship's agent, and that'll probably be the vessel agent, or the container operator in this case. Right, then we have the terminal. So please make certain that even though you've got the terminal, just remove that and do a double check on the terminal, because you might be using container terminal Durban container terminal Pier 1, Pier 2, or in accordance to that. And EasyClear cannot validate which one you are using. So you will need to specify which one you are using. So if I just put in the word Durban, I can see I'm using container terminal Pier 2, run the selection, and it's not the RoRo terminal or anything of that sort. Right, so I can scroll down further. My vessel name pulled through as well as the voyage number. On carrier, no need to insert that information. You can if you want to, but it's highly unlikely. See that if there's a secondary on carrier, you might have a secondary voyage number. In this case, the voyage number, there's only one vessel. It's not a trans-shipping vessel, so I'm going to leave the voyage number as is. My service ports is going to be Durban. So you see there's only very few selections of Durban, Cape Town, PE, Ngada, and East London. Place of issue will pull through automatically from the clearance file, as well as the agent, your agent VAT number, your order number. You will receive an order number from Transnet when you get a successful message. So you'd only use your order number if you're doing an amendment or a cancellation cargo dues order number. From there, I can see the declaration clerk, my NPA account number. So as I mentioned earlier on in this meeting, if you do have an NPA account number, we can add your NPA account number if there are multiples to the dropdown, and that's just done on EasyClear's side. It is done through the web application. We just prefer to do some hand holding there to make certain that it is set up correctly. But just for those of you who do have administrative privileges, I'm just going to go back into the home screen. Then I can go into my maintenance, company details, From there, I select the company that I'm working on first before I go tampering with any settings, please. And then you can go into your freight rates, documents, integration settings. So you can go through the company defaults and settings as well, just to see why is your system doing duplication checks and whatnot. But we're having a secondary session where we will take you through each setting in accordance to what they do, how they affect the system, and how your validations work. We'll see invoicing settings, warehouse settings, but I do believe I may be in the wrong portion for the cargo dues. Yes, I am. So we'll just go back into maintenance, department defaults, country lookup, client maintenance. It might be hidden because if this user is not marked off with the right permission, I do see it might potentially be hidden. But yeah, we can definitely go into that and set it up in accordance to your cargo dues account numbers. Oh, yes. So it just came back to me now. EDR settings. And then I can see I've got my cargo dues EDR settings as well. And I can, once you receive your FTP details from cargo dues, we'll enable this live for you to communicate with cargo dues. And then we can set up your account numbers as well. All right, so we'll just go back into the cargo dues order. And because I didn't press save, so you do take note if you go backwards and forwards without pressing the save option, EasyClear won't remember what you put in if you do not press save. So I'll mark this off as account number 001 again. Commodity code, Mace number, container operator, ships agents. I'm just going to use a random ships agent there. Obviously, your ships agent needs to be exact and unique. If your ship's agent is not there, please reach out to us. We can just double check on SARS website and maybe lay a technical fault to SARS and Transnet to validate why it hasn't been updated. All right, so I can see the Durban container terminal pier number 2, my vessel agent voyage numbers, my service port is Durban, VAT number, and I'm going to jump back straight over to the NPA account numbers, which are there. My description of the goods, container of mixed goods, and where it's coming from, South Africa has automatically pulled through. If I do populate the order number for an amendment or a cancellation, I need to put in a reason for the amendment or cancellation that is mandatory. And then I can finally print it as marks and numbers or containers as a selection option. So if you do print your containers cargo dues order, then you can validate that as well. And that's what will pull through. Then when you tick off the box of EDR locked, so the moment that you submit the cargo dues order, the cargo dues itself will automatically lock based on the fact that there is a successful EDR message to cargo dues. So once I'm done with the top section, I don't scroll down to packages as yet. Packages has its own set of plus, save, and delete. If I have to work here, my top section is not exactly going to be saved. So please make certain, go to the top, press the save option, start working on anything that's house lines in EasyClear. And the house lines are based on the factorization that you've got a plus, save, and a delete separate from the master. So I can therefore click on my 20-foot container, and I can already see there's the 20 foot. What is the factor? So if I know my factor is going to be, I'm going to be charged how much per container? Let's put the factor as 25. So I can see my rate is automatically putting through as 1,874 and 14 cents. The NPA rates are released when Transnet releases their 20-foot or 40-foot rates as well. So I can just speculate, oh, my factor will be 25 containers times by the rates gives me a total amount. In this factor, there's only one 20-foot container. So I'm just going to base it off of that calculation and press save. So you see there's very little and few information that you need to amend on the cargo dues side within EasyClear before you can ultimately go ahead and print a draft cargo dues or therefore EDR the cargo dues straight to Transnet. I'm going to run with the cargo dues draft. If you click on these buttons, please look out for any pop-up blocks, as that is a browser function. You just got to click on it. It looks like a little screen with a no access icon on it. So you can click on it, allow access, Press the print button again and your PDF document should pull through. The same thing can happen to you on internet banking, so it's not really EasyClear related, but we are fully aware of it and can help you with that if needs be, or just use the pop-up block to get around that. All right, so we can already see here, here's my official cargo dues order. If I get a successful order number from cargo dues and EDR response, that'll automatically print on the far right hand side. So I generally try not to print my cargo dues until I have a successful order number on top, as to not waste paper. But if you need to keep a record of it, then please do so. Right. From there, if I'm happy with my cargo dues, I can click on EDR declaration. Now, this is the portion where EasyClear will take your vessel plus the call sign and the SOB date, go look in the cargo dues website, and if you click on update arrivals list, you can see that those vessel names will automatically pull through. Now, based on that one, I see the vessel name that I'm looking for isn't available in the list. So I'm going to go back onto the cargo dues website. It's quite a very, very long website. So we are not allowed to share this information. So that's why with the URL being extremely long, you won't personally have access to this. Right, there's a lot of information here. So as far as you can see how long this website takes to open, that's why when EasyClear is updating for the arrival details as to how long it takes to get that information across. The vessel name that I am using is not available, so I'm just going to pick up a latest vessel on their website just to show you what the cargo dues orders pull through as. So you can run with your selection, create the EDR message, and then send it through. Just going to wait for that website to finalize. I'm just double checking if there's anything in the chat at the moment. Ah, brilliant. Right. Yeah, it's a massive website to go through. And we pick up all the information, pull it through to EasyClear, and this is how we can vet and validate, has the ID 100 from Transnet even been done? So within EasyClear side, if we cannot find it here, then we safely assume the vessel agent or Transnet have not done their job or their task. So if I have a look over here, here's the shipment done in September for Esprit Lotus. I can use that vessel, and when I am updating it, I'm not going to update it here. I'm rather going to go update that on my clearance file. So if your vessel agent does tell you, please use different information due to the fact that they may have registered it indifferently, then obviously your VOC can take effect if you have a clearance file. So I'm going to use Esprit Lotus. I can see all the details for that has pulled through, as well as my master carrier. And then the vessel agents, I'm just going to use DIA as Diamond Shipping, as I'm not certain who the actual vessel agent for Esprit Lotus is. But a phone call on the master bill lading document can give me that information. Right, so then I'm going to go straight over to my NPA for cargo dues again. Select my file. Now I've updated my information there. I can see I'd need to pull that information here as well. Okay. And then once that's been done, then I can go ahead and try and recreate the EDR message. Now as you see that that vessel agent or that vessel is available, registered with Transnet, you can now see that EasyClear has quickly and faster than I can open the website, picked up that information to show you there's the arrival number, the arrival date, the IMO number. So I'm happy that this is the vessel I'm trying to use. If it's not the vessel that I'm trying to look for, just give us a shout. We can do a check and just double check, have they done their side? Is our side updating accordingly? We'll click the update again, see if your vessel's available. If not, then that's the vessel agent portion. Otherwise, there's my vessel. So I'll select the arrow and I can see my EDR message has been created successfully. From there, I can click on the three lines on the top left-hand corner of the screen, click on the EDR send and receive portion, and I can see I've got my pending upload. Now, please take note, I am not submitting my cargo dues on the test environment. When you do get a cargo dues release, it will say the word release, but please, I implore you, click on the description. The description, if will give you more information as per cargo dues, say if there's any issues, errors, or warnings, as well as the fact that if you do not receive an order number, then you know, hey, I may have a release here, but there's no order number, so something is wrong. We can log a fault with Transnet directly if there is something wrong, such as the order number not being received from Transnet, though they do have a tendency to be a little bit delayed on those responses. So we try and push reminders to them as quickly as we can, just to try and get an answer from them or try and identify why you would not have received an order number. You can click on the print option here, and then print out your order confirmation from the cargo dues as well. Once the order confirmation does come through, then you'll see it's a basic order confirmation, your NPA account number, as well as the order number that has come through on the EDI message below. So it almost looks like a paperless release, in fact. So if you would like to amend the layout of this documentation, we can give you the opportunity to give us a potential layout which we can recreate to your order number confirmation. But as far as we've seen, this document is acceptable for Transnet and shipping lines. If it is already on pending upload, you can delete the file, but you can only delete a cargo dues EDI message when it is on pending upload. Cool, that completes the submission and recipients for the cargo dues messages. So if I had an order number and I wanted to go back to my import clearance file to complete that now, considering everything's done, there was a shortcut button to there. But back to the cargo dues message, I'd have to go through the NPA selection list from the registration or the home screen, sorry. Press my file number search and run back into that. Then if I wanted to create a possible amendment, I've got my order number, so order 001. I am amending vessel name, for instance. Press the save, and then you can create the EDI declaration again by selecting the arrow, and you can basically see there that now we have received a dog error on this one, which I'll double check as to why. My order number cannot be letters, I believe. An order number would be a number. I don't know why I put in letters there. Oh, cool. I will double check on what that error is and rectify that accordingly. So as I've seen, we haven't had any issues with amendments or cancellations. So once you do create that, you can review. I'll make certain that I believe maybe there's just a setting I'm missing as to why I'm receiving that error. All right, so next in line, we'll move over to the landing order. From the landing order, this is a portion where you can also, again, from the clearance file, load your landing order. From the landing order, it just gives you multiple information here in order for you to save and print the landing order. So there again, you'll specify what is your account number, the port of Durban. If I do press the tab option, I can see it's taking me from left to right. So from Durban, it's taking me to terminal 17, the depot code. My agent reference. So if I've got my own personal agent reference number, well, most people do insert the customs code utilizing that as the agent reference. So I'm just going to specify a customs code in here. The account number, so your NPA contract account number will pull through from your company settings. If you provide that to us, we can add that into the system. What is the pre-carrier? The voyage number. The on-carrier, so for a trans-shipping order, you can specify the difference between the two. If there is a trans-shipping order on carrier, you can mention what that voyage number is as well. The storage port of discharge. So I think, oh, sorry, the port of load is Shanghai. Apologies for that. And then the port of discharge will be Durban. No, this is the ports of documentation. Apologies, I do forget those sometimes. I haven't done a landing order in quite some time. So port of discharge, Durban. Port of origin is Shanghai. If there's a rail destination, so you have a landing order, but it's going to be a landing order to ship that on a rail through to the Johannesburg city, then you can use your landing order for the rail destination as Johannesburg. If there's a rail sliding number, so more than likely, if you don't have the sliding number, you can use the cart's number, so the train number 001. Who will be the transporter? So if you don't know who belongs to the train, then that would be the train. Or you can mention who's going to be the transport if it is coming via road from Durban to the Joburg City Deep. Your transport quote number can be inserted here for the landing order. So this will be your quote number. What type of print are you doing? Marks and numbers or the containers type print. So you can print either or based on the selection. You can change it and do a reprint again. Your account number. Is there a bill of lading number? So I'm making this 111 for the train master bill of lading number. And then what are the terms? So if you hit the drop down for the terms, is it linear terms or non-line terms as well? Just double checking my microphone is active. Otherwise, I've been talking to myself here. Cool. All right, so we can see it's either non-line terms or liner terms. So what are your liner terms being your FOB terms and whatnot? And then if you got any attachments to that documentation, do you give yourself the provided the packing list, supplier's invoice? So you can tick the boxes and those will relate to each box ticked based on your selection there. And if you're loading the tonnage, you can also put in what is your landing tons. So this will be 0.15. What is the rate? So if there's a rate for the movement of goods from Durban to Johannesburg, you can specify what that rate is. And then what will the final value be? You have your late order tons. So if you have a shipment that's been delivered, but it has to go in two parts because maybe it's a containerized cargo, but it's going as granules. The rail cart might need to split those granules into two loads. So you might have a late order as well. And then if that is the case, more than likely the secondary half of your container is going to be in storage. So you can also specify the storage as well. So it's very minimum information to insert here. Just put that as 1. I see the decimal values aren't being accepted in the landing order. We'll run a double check on that. Might be my regional settings causing that issue. So even computers can affect the website. And when you're happy with that, then you can just print out your landing order. It's always good to print out the landing order to see what information is easily putting in, where is it inserting this information, and you can see the length, breadth, and height. Because I didn't insert that into my container information, it didn't pull through here either. So that's why EasyClear is always asking you for more information rather than less, so that the documentation can fill out sufficiently and provide more information rather than skipping out on those mandatory details for a landing order. So it's always good to say, okay, cool, I can see the information I'm putting in. I wanted to put in a late order as well. So I can actually just go back, scroll down to where I wanted to adjust the late order. I'll make this one 250 as the value. And I can always go back, amend it, save it, and reprint the landing order for as many times as I like. Each time I reprint the landing order, you'll see your changes have pulled through, and the document is already saved on your computer, depending on your browser settings. So now on top, I've got way too many tabs open, which might be confusing due to the fact that I didn't know which tab I was busy working on. So locate one of the tabs you're working on, and you can always right click on that, close tabs to the right, or close other tabs. So quickly closing all the other tabs that you don't want available on the web system. All right, that will complete the landing order. I'll follow through with any queries or questions on it thereafter. And we'll go back to the home screen and move over to the shipping order. So same thing again, a clearance file needs to exist. You can open the clearance file And therefore, you can see what information does pull through. I can see based on the shipping order, it pulls through exactly the same information as my landing order. So if I populate the landing order, realizing I made a mistake, it should have been a shipping order, you don't have to redo the information as the information gets saved in the same place because you're either doing a landing order or a shipping order for your imports or export type scenarios. Right, so once you print your shipping order, you can print that, send that through to Transnet in the shipping line, and then obviously get them to sign it off and keep a copy for yourself. Yeah. We can go back to the home screen and move on to the next item of business, which will be your tranche. Now, the tranche shipping order, the only one I'm familiar with in South Africa is the one down in PE. And again, you can also see that if you have done a landing order or a shipping order, the tranche shipping information is exactly the same information. I mean, Transnet's requirements for a tranche shipping order does not change. The only changes you would have here is the pre-carrier who brought it to South Africa, and then the on-carrier who's taking it out of South Africa based on the transshipping order and your voyage number for that removal item. So if we run a print on that one as well, we can double check it's just listed as transshipping order, but the layout of the documentation per Transnet standards is all exactly the same, except for and barring the final one below. So I can see there, if I actually just double checked my information, having made the mistake, if it was an import, port of origin Shanghai, port of discharge Durban. But for a transshipping order, port of origin, you might have come to Shanghai on carrier, but then it might be leaving via the transshipping PE destination as well. Right, so we can go back to the home screen again and then go down in divulging to your CTO, container order landing orders. So if I press the search button as well, I can see for the CTOs, it pulls through all the information based on the normal cargo due screen. So if you're unfamiliar with what a CTO is, it's always good to maybe print it, and then you can see that it's your container terminal order landing. So there is a difference between a normal landing order versus a container terminal landing order. And there's slight differences to the documentation here, where you can see how's it coming in, and then if it's moving to Johannesburg, how's it moving accordingly. We also put in the information of the temperature, the UN class, as well as the dangerous goods class as well. If there's a rail account that's moving it from Durban to Johannesburg, you can put in your rail information as well. You can see your container number pulls through, and you can see why containers have a maximum of 11 characters long, because Transnet only provides you with 11 characters and it cannot exceed that. Right, then we can also see who will be the transporter, the pre-carrier, the voyage number, as well as if there are any bill of entry numbers on the clearance file, those will automatically pull through onto your landing orders as well. And then the same thing applies for the container order, shipping order, transshipping order. And then most importantly is if you do a empty container list, returning an empty container list or bringing the empty container list back into the country, obviously you would have done your clearance file for the empty container list, put in the minimum information here, and just print out your empty container list order. So this will be for empty containerized shipments only when you return the container back to the sender. Righty. And this would take more or less than an hour just to go through four of those options. But if you see raising a clearance file and then pulling up your cargo dues order to EDI that to Transnet, that resolves that. And yeah, if there is any issues or concerns with the process, please do let us know, as we can definitely accompany and guide you through that process as well, as many times as you like. And we can also provide you with the manuals on these as well. And then for those of you who are, and this is very off topic, for those of you who are waiting, I've got the videos at the ready. I just want to post it over to Tony, our manager, who's just going to review them, and then they should be available on YouTube soonest. But as I mentioned, we will send out a notification as soon as that is done. Righty, thank you everybody for joining. That concludes the cargo dues training. I will leave the microphones open to any questions, and I'm also going to stipulate one more statement. Meeting options. I'm just opening the microphones. One more statement to say, if you would like a shipment report, based on the fact that you want to maybe pull out an Excel or PDF document on all containerized cargo or tonnage you've done for the month, we can add those type of reports into the EasyClear system. A PDF type report I can build myself, or any of my colleagues can build that as well. And those 4 cargo dues we can add into Easy Reports within the same day, or due to the complexity of the report, it might take us a day or two, but we can definitely add it there, confirm with you if you're happy with the style of the report, and then conclude it from there. If it's going to be an Excel related report, please take note there will have to be development on our side involved. So we'll get our development team involved, and that might take a couple of, or a little bit longer to actually prepare and then introduce into the web system and only make available once the Wednesday updates go out, if it's ready before the Wednesday update accordingly. Alrighty, I have opened the microphones. Is there any queries or questions for Cargo Dues? And if you'd like to sign up for Cargo Dues and want me to just define the process again, just let me know. Making sure the settings are okay. Or if you don't feel like unmuting your microphone, you can always raise a question there. Fantastic. I believe there's no questions on the floor. I thank you very much for joining, everybody, and I wish you a lovely day further. Take care and speak to you soon. Bye bye.